she wrote a book, Waiting for Jack, and she gets up when she talks and she has a new growth experience just about every time she talks. So I'm excited to hear what she's going to do this time. So ladies and gentlemen, Crestmoor.
I do need help getting up on stage. So I want to tell you guys a secret, okay? So lean forward. Don't tell my doctor that I am not wearing my ugly black boot that I'm supposed to be wearing because I fractured my toe. But I'm wearing instead snow boots because it's snowing and I figured, why not? But I'm going to tell you a little bit. I fractured my toe up on stage in a transformational exercise, demonstrating my commitment to freedom, my own personal freedom, and demonstrating, it was actually a business seminar, and demonstrating my commitment to my clients, that I want to break through what stops me in life so I can be more effective for my clients. Now, you might, the subtitle of my book, he said, my book, Waiting for Jack, the subtitle is Confessions of a Self-Help Junkie. And I've had the distinct pleasure of being interviewed on many occasions about my book, including this morning. And the woman very nicely said, she called me a former self-help junkie. And I didn't tell her about my toe, because I think if someone knew about my toe, that I was willing to injure myself in the name of self-help and clearing out my stuff, then there might be a little bit of an issue there. So I'm going to, you guys, the secret, right? I'm still a self-help junkie. But my argument is that really all of us, and this may offend some of you, but all of us who are on a path of personal growth have a little self-help junkie in us. And the question is, where do you fall on the scale? Where do you fall in the continuum? So I'm going to tell you a story. There's a Sufi parable about a tinsmith, and he was wrongly imprisoned for something, well, wrongly imprisoned, and he was in jail bemoaning his fate, and his lovely, loving wife sent him a prayer rug. And in the prayer rug was woven the design of the lock, so he could actually make a key and get out of jail. So what he did was, he bribed the guards, got to know the guards, and offered them trinkets if they brought him material that he could make a key. And then, so he did that, and then got enough material and made a key, and then was able to break out of jail. Now, that is like, that could be used, that metaphor could be used in so many ways. We could look at the things that stop us, how we're imprisoned, our limitations, how freedom is actually really right there. And that would be a normal thing, right? We would have the answer, and then take the action, and then have our freedom. But what happens for most of us is not quite like that. So now I'm going to butcher that parable and to say, apply the self-help junkie. So the self-help junkie, same place. So first of all, the self-help junkie would become fascinated by the intricacy in the carpet, the beautiful pattern, much like this carpet here, the beautiful pattern, and just become enamored with that and start to kind of get lost in the beauty there. And then they would start to think about their wife. And first they would think kind things about their wife and how their wife loves them so much that they did this for them and they were willing to risk imprisonment themselves. But then they might think about, you know what, it actually took me a little too long. Maybe my wife doesn't really love me as much as I thought. If she loved me, she might have made it a little more obvious. And then they might think, well, maybe it's this just that I'm slow. And maybe it's that incident in 3rd grade when I got something wrong and my teacher made fun of me and now I'm just slow and so that's why I haven't gotten it sooner. And then they're going to start to think, really have all this information in their heads and they're going to want to process this. And so who are they going to want to process with? They're going to want to process with the guards. So instead of actually taking the information and breaking out, they're going to have a conversation with the guards about the fact that they have to unburden themselves. So what I say is, that's how most of us are. Freedom is right here, and we miss it all the time. And I have missed it all the time. So I'm going to go back to my foot. I went to this workshop, and I wanted a breakthrough. And I've been in this field of personal development for 22 years, ever since getting into recovery from an addiction and a severe eating disorder and starting a brand new journey and then discovering my passion, discovering something I really cared about And after I got into recovery myself, then discovering that I found something I loved. I loved learning about the human mechanism. I loved learning about why we are the way we are. I went back to school, I got a master's degree, and then started helping people who were going through similar things. But what happened was, I turned all of that drive that was in my addiction, I turned it into a drive for personal development. I became a self-help junkie. And I hoped secretly, and not so secretly, if you know me, I hoped that I would one day arrive, that one day I could just get there, be there, relax, breathe, a sigh of relief, and then life would be altered. You know, and I've had breakthroughs in my life. I've had breakthroughs. But I want that one breakthrough where I never will go back again. I will never doubt again. I will never listen to the little voice again. I will never wonder. I will never get sweaty palms before getting up on stage again. I will never do those things. You know, I just wanted to arrive and be free. So I took workshops and took trainings. And you know what? I'm not bashing self-help. So when I'm interviewed about this, it's a very fine line. I am in the field of self-help. I now coach authors, but most of my authors are writing books in self-help. And what I say is, keep writing the books, because if the problem still exists out there in the world, it doesn't hurt to have another voice, to say it in another way. We all learn differently. We learn from different teachers. So keep writing. But where does I wanted to reinvent self-help. When I first started this whole mission, when I decided to give the subtitle, Waiting for Jack, Confessions of a Self-Help Junkie, I decided to reinvent self-help. But what I've come to realize recently is, it's not self-help. That's not the problem. The problem is here, not just me. I'm pointing at me, but you guys point at you, okay? It's with us. It's how we interact with self-help. It's just like food. There's no inherent problem with food. It's how we are about food. And I can speak about that because having been an eating disorder person, I had a lot of issues with food. But it's not food. It's the preparation of food. It's our consumption of food. So it's our consumption of self-help. We need to be responsible for our consumption of self-help and how we are about it. And used properly, it's a beautiful thing. You know, it is why I am standing here in front of you today. It is why I'm willing to get up in front of a group of people. If this was not a good idea, I have had many humiliating, embarrassing moments when I was a child in front of people that should have said, this is not the thing to do. So back to my foot, right? I got to tell you about my foot. So I went to this workshop with this commitment. I'm going to have a breakthrough. I'm going to have a line in the sand. I'm going to walk out a different person. And I walked out with a fractured toe. Maybe I'm a different person. I have a fractured toe. I've never broken a bone in my body. No? I've never broken a bone in my body. Apparently, on an energetic level, when you break a bone, it does something. It's a spiral fracture, too. It's, you know. But I'm the same person. You know, I am the same person. And what did I learn from that? I don't know. I wanted to come here and say, this is what I learned from that. I broke my toe, and I learned that. And I was even thinking that maybe when I said, something might come out of my mouth here on stage. And it didn't, did it? But what I have learned in this path is there's no arrival. There is no arrival. And I'm starting to be okay with that. And I'm asking you guys, let's start to be okay with that. Let's let ourselves not arrive. Let's just not arrive, okay? When we arrive, we're dead. But let's just not arrive. Let's just keep growing. If you want to be in self-help, if you want to take another course, if you want to work with another teacher, do that. Let yourself do that. Let yourself be where you are. Let yourself have the experience. And maybe don't break your toe.